Pulumi is a powerful infrastructure as code tool, particularly good if you're a developer. It supports a lot of different languages. Personally, I'm a C# developer, so it gives me a lot more power to do tricky things with the infrastructure as code that's quite challenging to do in JSON or YAML. In this show, I'm going to show you how to set up the DIY backend state. Why would you want to do that? Essentially cost. So if you are brand new to Pulumi, you want to explore Pulumi and decide if it's a tool you want to bring into your team. As an individual, go through and play with it and use the cloud-based state. It's free. That's the one that gets used by default. Then when you reach the point where, okay, this is a tool that you want to include, and there's multiple developers, and you need a centralized state management. Yes, you can come here and you can leverage Pulumi's cloud solution, but then you pay per resource. So just be aware of that. You do get some extra things, obviously, like redundancy, like backup of the files and security management, and there is value in using their cloud solution. But if that's not an option for you, just check out this video and I'll show you how easy it is to set up a backend state storage in Azure, in an Azure storage container. So I assume you've got Pulumi installed. If not, check the show notes, some instructions in a link there. Next thing, when I start working with a Pulumi project, I like to log out first and then log back in again. It's completely unnecessary if you are only working with a single Pulumi project and only working with a single Azure subscription. But let's just quickly go through that process. So I'm going to log out of Azure with an AZ logout, and then Pulumi logout as well. Then we want to log in to Azure with the tenant, and I think that's my tenant ID. Select the right account. Now, if you've got multiple subscriptions, you'll need to pick the one that you want to create the resources in. This account only has one. Then we go, we're not going to log into Pulumi because that's what we're doing in this show, is creating a way to log into the Azure Blob storage. Next step, create the storage container that we want our state to go into. So if we go to, I've already created the storage account, so I'm assuming you know how to do that already. Go to containers, and we want to add a new container. And I like to prefix mine with Pulumi State, and then my project name, which is DIY State. Then we'll just create that. Now that name is what we need for the login, and we can now log in. It's Pulumi login. And there's a link in the show notes for this page, and this is the syntax to do that login. So we're just going to go AZ blob, and then the container name. Now this will fail because it doesn't know what storage account we need to access. How do we tell it that? We tell it that with some environment variables. So the storage account here and the key. Now you can put that in your environment variables on your system so that it is automatically there for you all the time. You don't have to always provide that information every time you're working with Pulumi. Again, if you're using multiple projects, that can become a problem unless you're using the same storage account for all of them. I'm just going to add the environment variable values in my current session. Environment that equals, and then the storage account name. You can copy from there and enter. Okay, just careful with that. It's a string. It wants a string. And we can verify that that is right just by outputting that. Okay. Now the other thing we need is the storage account key. So again, this one, come back here and Azure Storage key. And I'll just grab a key from security access keys. I'll rotate these keys later, so I'm just going to put that in there. Of course, I managed to miss my quotes. There we go. Now we'll try our login again. And now we're logged in. So let's have a look at our storage account in Storage Browser. Actually, it might be better if we just look straight at the container. And look in Pulumi. We don't have anything here yet. Well, apart from, we now have the .pulumi folder. So it's hooked up. So what's the next step? Create a new project, and let's just see if that gets created. So again, link in the show notes for creating a new project. You've probably done this before. So we're going to create a new Azure C# project. This folder is not empty. What's in my folder? Oh, okay, change directory to the sources, probably a good plan. Try that again. New Azure C#. Okay, and we're going to call this DIY State. DIY Learning State project. And stack name dev is good. Created stack dev. I'm going to create mine in Australia East because that's close to me. Project created. So what happened in our storage? Did anything happen in our storage? Pulumi, we've now got stacks and DIY state. And in that DIY state project, we've got a dev stack. So that's good to go. We can run a Pulumi up, and I presume that code. Let's just take a look at what's been created in that code. In source, and CS proj. Usually by default, it creates a storage account. But we can just quickly double check that. Yes, so we've got a storage account that should be created in a resource group name. Australia East. So we can try it, Pulumi up. So that completely failed. I even had to kill my PowerShell window. So I've created a new one, put my environment variables back in. I'm going to try again. It's currently locked. Okay, so we want to cancel that. Pulumi cancel because it didn't work before. Okay, and then we'll try again. Cool. Failed for a different reason, at least it didn't get stuck. Okay, so obtaining authorization token from the CLI. Okay, that error was weird. I've put this in the show notes, what the actual error was. It's actually nothing to do with the state. So if all you're interested in is the state and it's working for you, then that's cool. But if you do get a similar, if you do see a similar error, I just thought it's worth keeping this in tacked on at the end of the show. So no real help from ChatGPT on that one, but I searched around more explicitly for the error, found an issue on GitHub. Again, the link is in the show notes. Down here, there is a link saying, yeah, you've got to turn the WAM off. So that's this link here. Again, that's in the show notes. And yeah, I ran this, so account clear. I guess setting this, enabling the broker on Windows to false is the fix, because after I did the AZ login, it's all happy again. So if I do now do a Pulumi up, after doing the AZ login successfully, I mean, it was logging in successfully, but then getting the error. And there we go, there's the Pulumi up, and we can either create or not. I'll go ahead and create it, but essentially that's it. That's how you set up the DIY backend state for Pulumi. So there's zero cost when you do that from your own time to set it up, and you should also create some kind of a backup solution for your state files. That's beyond the scope of this particular show, but you can see it's really easy to get going. So if you're still sort of growing your usage of Pulumi, maybe this is a good way to get the team involved without having to go through an approval process to get the an expense approved for the cloud-based version. We've been using this approach where I currently am for years now, and we haven't had any issues. So hopefully that's helpful to someone to see how it all hooks together really easily. If you did find it to be helpful, then please help the show and do the like and subscribe channel. And yeah, go and be kind, be curious, and create something great.